So first things first, Kendall, did you watch the movie?
No.
Okay, okay. Ideally, you all. Whoops, here comes a couple people. Just a sec. Hang on. Here's Claire, and here's Luke. Oh, good. Um, so what I want to do today is talk a little bit about the end of the book. I want to show you guys a short assignment. Hey, Luke, that's for tomorrow, because I want you guys to understand there's a 4-day weekend in which you should have no homework for Tuesday. If any of your teachers assign you homework for Tuesday, just tell them, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do it, because this is supposed to be, I mean, heck, instead of a 2-week spring break, we get a 4-day weekend. And as Hayden already pointed out, it may be snowing. So we'll see. Hey, Claire. So I wanted to, I'm going to recommend, I think I'll post, I was hoping we could maybe stream the movie together, but hi, Claire. But my internet has become so funky, and living in this tent. Hopefully, I'll be able to move back into my house eventually. We'll see. But I have some ideas for an essay that we're not going to start on this weekend, because again, I don't want you guys doing any work this weekend. But an essay that we'll be start to work on next week. But first off, I've put this, hang on here. I've got one more discussion blog here that I posted. I'd like to have you get it done by, I mean, we won't use a full block today, so you can do it today, or just get it done by tomorrow afternoon. Because again, once 3:15 rolls around tomorrow, you guys are officially on a 4-day break. And it's a break where you shouldn't be doing any work. So, thoughts on the novel. Now that you finish, please take some time to jot down your final impressions of Vonnegut's novel. Try to support these observations with specific references to the text. To be sure to get this done by blah, blah, blah. You can read it on your own. So I'm just going to go do a round robin here. Starting on the bottom of my screen with Luke. What did you think of the ending?
Like the rest of the book, it was kind of strange, but I liked it overall.
Okay, good. I mean, it is, remember this was written in 1969, 68, whatever. Yeah, you get to the opening of chapter 10, and we come back to Vonnegut, just like we were in the opening. And we go, Robert Kennedy gets shot, so it goes. Martin Luther King gets shot, so it goes. Every day my government gives me a count of corpses created by the military science in Vietnam, so it goes. Which I thought was really kind of moving. He says, that, his big conclusion, his big takeaway is, if what Billy Pilgrim learned from the Trial of Amadorians is true, that we will all live forever, no matter how dead we may be, sometimes be, I'm not overjoyed. I wonder why not. I don't know. Still, if I'm going to spend eternity visiting this moment and that, I'm grateful that so many of those moments are nice. I don't know. I think it's an interesting book. But again, and I appreciate you guys finishing it. And I'd like, Mariam, what were your final impressions? Anything stand out?
Not.
Actually,
not exactly. It was kind of like, I guess, like the middle of the book where I guess it was like kind of like the book where it kind of like gradually got weirder as the chapters kind of went on. For me, at least.
I actually laughed out loud for the first time. Because I personally am not a real fan of, his humor, his raunchy jokes and stuff. And it's kind of, I guess, he's in a dirty bookstore in Times Square, which back in the day, Times Square was not, all this hot tourist spot. It was this real seedy area, a lot of drug dealers and a lot of adult movies, houses and stuff. And I guess it's kind of funny or telling that he makes the great analogy. He's sitting there watching a dirty movie with Montana Wildhawk Wildhack in it. And he says, let me find it, sorry. He says, and then, there are still, yeah, there are peep shows in the back, blah, blah, blah. There are still photographs of naked young people still back there too. You could take those home. And this was interesting, the stills. So here he is making it what I think is a pretty interesting analogy, and you'll see why when I show you some of the readings I posted. But the stills were a lot more Tralfamadore than the movies, that you could look at them whenever you wanted to, and they wouldn't change. 20 years in the future, those girls would still be young, whatever. So, yeah, I mean, but the one line that I thought was funny when they were talking about whether or not, the novel is dead, and then we get So It Goes. I thought that was kind of funny because he's a novelist, but I don't know. Gemma, what were your final impressions? Of course, you guys can write more expansively on the discussion blog.
I thought it was pretty good. I mean, honestly, like, I found it kind of confusing personally, but then, like, I had Carter help me get through it and, like, explain it to me and stuff, so that was
Had
nice.
Carter read it before?
Yeah, he has.
Did he read it on his own, or did he read it with Jones?
I have no idea.
Huh, okay. All right. Well, good. I'm glad you had Carter there to help. Logan, what did you think overall? Quick summation.
It was quite interesting.
What was most interesting about it?
The time jumps really and how they worked.
Right. And again, that's why I wanted to read this book, was for the time travel. And, I think Shen, where is Shen? Oh, well. I think Shen asked earlier if we're going to write a paper on this book, and we're not. But we are going to reference the Tralfamadorian sense of time in a way. Kendall, what'd you think in the end?
Well, I felt like the bird thing was kind of weird. What did the bird say?
Tweet or whatever. Yeah. Well, and remember that at the in the opening, in the opening chapter, he gives away the end of the book. Where is it here? He says at the end of the opening chapter, where he's talking about when he was actually writing this book, he says, wait a second, let me close this. He says, it begins like this. Listen, Billy Pilgrim has become unstuck in time. It ends like this. Poo-tee-weet, which is just a chirping bird, basically. Why did he do that? Why did he give us the start and the end of the book at the end of the first chapter?
I mean, that's like the Tralfamadorian time thing.
The Tralfamadorian, exactly. It's like we're seeing, it's like the whole book has happened at once. So obviously that's why I did it. But yeah, I just think it's a bird chirping. Is that a hopeful ending? Is that hearing bird song one of the moments that we hope we'll get to revisit again and again, as opposed to these more dire moments? I don't know. Claire, what'd you think? Overall impression. Claire is frozen. Oops. I wonder if Claire's still there. Is it just a picture of Claire? Jake, what did you think? Overall impressions.
I thought it was pretty good. It was just kind of weird, like the time jumps, like kind of like Logan said. It's just, I don't know, the whole book was just kind of weird, but I liked it. It was good.
Good. I'm glad it wasn't a total waste of time. Hope you just lost Claire. Darn it. Yeah, I've been getting kicked off too. Oops, Claire's back. Hayden, overall impression?
I thought the book was going to end in a different way. Like, I kind of thought that the book was going to end with him changing like his future, because it talked about in the book how like the future is always set. So I thought maybe like he would change the future, but I guess that's just not how it ended.
Yeah, he'd somehow prove the Tralfamadorians wrong. Again, this is not like Back to the Future, where you can go back to the past and change the future. That's a different vision of time travel. Who else? Claire, are you back? Claire's having issues. Sorry for Claire. Kyla, what'd you think overall?
I mean,
I also did not really expect it and how it ended really, but like I'm still kind of confused and I also like watched the movie and I'm not gonna say that much, but it
Well, no,
was
just
I watched
let me interrupt you for a second. Sorry, because I
yeah.
wanted to stream the movie together, but I just think that our internet's not it's not robust enough to do that. It'll buffer and stuff. So I'd really recommend. I have not watched this movie since it came out in 1972 or something. Kendall, you have a movie, right? You have the disc. Um, but yeah, so it came out in like 72. I was a freshman in high school or something. I'll tell you, it was the first movie in which I saw a naked woman. I remember that part of it. But what did you think of the movie? Is it worth watching? Because I was thinking I'm going to try over this weekend. I'm going to stream. It costs like $4 to stream it, but I think
Yeah,
I'm going.
I just rented it in Amazon. It was just like $4. It wasn't even that bad.
And what'd you think of the movie? Was it helpful or not worth it?
I mean, I kind of had the same thing in the book and in the movie because the movie, when I was watching the movie, it also made me kind of confused in the beginning. But then, like, every time he, like, passed out something and then he goes back to, like, to time and then, like, he sees his, like, death in the future, like, mostly all the time, which was, and I was like, oh, okay. Now it kind of makes sense, too.
Okay.
Like, yeah, it helped a lot.
Okay, I was thinking of maybe, yeah, encouraging you guys. I'm not going to require it. I'm not going to make you pay $4 to watch a movie, but I'm going to watch it this weekend. I was actually going to post. I didn't get a chance to this morning because I was doing a bunch of conferences with my AP students. But I was going to suggest a list. I really miss watching movies with you guys. That was fun. And so I was going to make a list of time travel movies that I think are worthwhile. I really wanted to watch Donnie Darko with you because that's a strange one. There's Time Cop, which is terrible, but it's like the kind of good bad movie. It's got Jean Van Damme and he travels around in time. There's Looper, which is kind of like the Predestination, which was the movie based on Heinlein's All You Zombies, which we started to watch. But I'll post a list of pretty good time travel movies because I think that'll get you in the mood for for your poor Claire. Where did Claire go? Oh well. That'll get you in the mood for for writing this paper. So this paper, and I'm not gonna. Hello, Claire. Claire's back. This paper is not, and I'm not going to assign it now. I was going to post an assignment, to spend some time on. I figured no, because again, I don't want you guys working over this weekend. But this paper is going to give you a couple of different options. One is going to be writing more straightforwardly about time. One is going to be a creative opportunity. You can, Shen might run with this the way she did with the conclusion to Ex Machina. But one is going to be talking about time itself. What is time? One's going to be a creative option, which is creating a short story which has time travel involved. And one is going to be about what if we did, in a sense, live forever. And what I want to do is, let me go back to this. If you look in remote learning resources, you can all see this page. Yeah. Look in the yellow one. I've got this new folder, Essays on Time, which which I'm posting some things like this essay here. Logan, you might in particular like this, The Incredible Truth About Time. This is just a copy, I moved it over here, of the Heinlein story, All You Zombies. But I want to read this one together right now. This comes from a book that I actually read pretty recently, although it's been out for a while. It's by what's the guy's name? Lightfoot or something? Or Lightman. It's by Alan Lightman, and he wrote a book called Einstein's Dreams. If you guys are interested in that and you want to try, I mean, it's really good. It's bunch of short vignettes which talk about time in different ways. Maybe that's why I'm hung up on time, because I read this book not too long. I think I read it over Christmas break. This is just one chapter from what later became this book, Einstein's Dreams. And if I can find an online copy of it, I'll post that as well. But he starts off like this. Suppose the people live forever. Strangely, the population of each city splits in two, the laters and the nows. The laters, reason there's no hurry to begin their classes at university, to learn a second language, to read Voltaire or Newton, to seek promotion in their jobs, to fall in love, to raise a family. In endless time, all things can be accomplished. Thus, all things can wait. Indeed, hasty action breeds mistakes, and who can argue with their logic? The laters can be recognized in any shop or promenade, and they walk with an easy gait and wear loose-fitting clothing. They take pleasure in reading whatever magazines are open, or rearranging furniture in their homes, or slipping into conversation the way a leaf falls from a tree. The laters sit in cafes, sipping coffee and discussing the possibilities of life. The nows note that with infinite lives, they can do all they can imagine. They will have an infinite number of careers. They will marry an infinite number of times. They will change their politics infinitely. Each person will be a lawyer, a bricklayer, a writer, an accountant, a painter, a physician, a farmer. The nows are constantly reading new books, studying the new trades, new languages. In order to taste the infinities in life that begin early and never go slowly. And who can question their logic? The nows are easily spotted. They're the owners of the cafes, the college professors, the doctors and nurses, the politicians, the people who rock their leg constantly whenever they sit down. They move through a succession of lives, eager to miss nothing. When two nows chance to meet at the hexagonal pilaster of the Zablinger fountain, they compare the lives they have mastered, exchange information, and glance at their watches. When two laters meet at the same location, they ponder the future and follow the parabola of the water with their eyes. The nows and laters have one thing in common. With infinite life comes an infinite list of relatives. Grandparents never die, nor do great-grandparents, great-aunts or great-uncles, great-great-aunts, and so on, back through the generations, all alive and offering advice. Sons never escape from the shadows of their father, nor do daughters of their mothers. No one ever comes into his own. When a man starts a business, he feels compelled to talk it over with his parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents ad infinitum, to learn from their errors, for no new enterprise is new. All things have been attempted by some antecedent in the family tree. Indeed, all things have been accomplished, but at a price. For in such a world, the multiplication of achievements is partly divided by the diminishment of ambition. And when a daughter wants guidance from her mother, she cannot get it undiluted. Her mother must ask her mother, who must ask her mother, and so on forever. Just as sons and daughters cannot make decisions for themselves, they cannot turn to parents for confident advice. Parents are not the only source of certainty. There are 1,000,000 sources. With every action, where every action must be verified 1,000,000 times, life is tentative. Bridges thrust halfway over rivers and then abruptly stop. Buildings rise 9 stories high but have no roofs. The grocer's stocks of ginger, salt, cod, and beef change with every change of mind, every consultation. Sentences go unfinished. Engagements end just days before weddings. And on the avenues and streets, people turn their heads and peer behind their backs to see who might be watching. Such is the cost of immortality. No person is whole. No person is free. Over time, some have determined that the only way to live is to die. In death, a man or a woman is free of the weight of the past. These few souls, with their dear relatives looking on, dive into Lake Constance or hurl themselves from Mont Lima, ending their infinite lives. In this way, the finite has conquered the infinite. Millions of autumns have yielded to no autumns. Millions of snowfalls have yielded to no snowfalls. Millions of admonishments have yielded to none. This was actually on the AP Lit exam as a multiple choice passage several years ago. Anyway, what do you think? Living forever. If life were, I mean, this isn't quite the same as Tralfamadorian because, you know, Billy does die, but he's only dead for a time and he's alive for a time. It doesn't seem as if other people are time traveling as well. So it's kind of different than Lightman's story. But what do you think? Claire, I don't know if you can hear us or if you can talk. I can't see anymore. What do you think of living forever? What do you think? What's
I don't
that?
really like.
What?
I don't really like that. I don't like it.
You don't.
I'll
You don't.
type.
Yeah. No, you don't have to type. That's okay. I get it. You don't like it. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's yeah. I mean, if you could do everything you ever wanted to do forever and ever. But Logan, what does Lightman not consider? I mean, if people live forever, go ahead, Logan.
I don't really know. Continue on.
If people live forever, do they just stay this? I mean, would Kyla stay 18 or 17? Where are you, 17, 18? Would Kyla be 18 forever and ever?
I don't really know how that would work.
How would that work? Let me read you one more story, then I'm going to turn you guys loose. These are both, if you want to reread them, these are both in that new folder, and I'll be adding some more stuff as well. But let me move this. Whoops. Who knows the story of Eos and Tithonus? Anybody heard of Tithonus? No? Did you guys read Greek mythology in middle school and stuff? Anyway.
I did, but I don't think I ever read this one.
Okay, well, Luke, this is short. I'm going to read this, and then we'll you can go off and talk on the discussion blogs. Long ago, the goddess Eos, and Eos is the goddess of dawn, the rosy fingers of dawn, fell in love with Ares, the god of war. And like so many others, he could not resist the beauty of this goddess of the dawn. Rosy-fingered Eos, dressed in long robes of saffron and sitting upon her throne, she glimmered and cast a look upon Ares he could not resist. Alas, Aphrodite heard the news of Ares' love, and bursting with jealousy, she cast a curse on upon Eos, the goddess of dawn would never stop falling in love. And so it was, that time after time, Eos fell in love with mortal men. This was a sad fate for a goddess, for mortal men do not live forever as goddesses do. But of all the tales of heartbreak, there was no sadder story than the tale of Tithonus. Tithonus was a proud young man, a prince of Troy, handsome and brave. And the moment Eos saw him, she fell deeply in love. That was her way. But this time she decided she must carry him away with her. So she brought him to her palace, away from his homeland. Naturally, Tithonus loved Eos. Who could resist the love of such a beautiful goddess? Just as she does today and those years ago, long ago, Eos woke the world each morning with curling rings of light, and every morning she mystically brought the world out of its darkness. Whenever Tithonus looked at her, he felt a glow, the way so many people feel at dawn, as buoyant as an April morning on those days when the first buds begin to bloom. Hey, we're in April. Tithonus and Eos lived together happily, and they had two sons, Memnon and Amathion, who also became famous among men and gods. All seemed well, but as time passed, Eos remembered something she had forgotten. Mortals do not live forever. Eos began to mourn the future. How would she survive without her love? She could not imagine such a life, and so she asked the greatest god of all, Zeus, to grant Tithonus immortality. Please, Eos pleaded, let my beloved Tithonus live forever. Her eyes filled with tears, her skin flushed, and even Zeus was moved. And so he granted her request. Now Tithonus was immortal. Never was there a happier man. Loved by a beautiful goddess, he was a proud father and ruler of a bountiful land, and Eos too was joyful. But they hadn't realized one thing. Tithonus would live forever, but even Zeus did not have the power to make him a god. Excuse me. And so as time passed, Tithonus, like all mortals, began to age. First, Eos noticed the wrinkles upon his brow, and as the years passed, his muscles began to grow weak. His arms and legs grew slender, his hair grew gray and thin, just like mine. Even the light of his beloved Eos no longer gave him the strength it once had. When Eos understood Tithonus's fate, the sight of him filled her with such sadness that she could not bear to look at him. So she left him alone and traveled, falling in love with others. Eos fell in love with other mortal men and other gods, and when she returned to Tithonus, she would see her once handsome beloved withering away. Day after day he grew older. Like a shadow he roamed silent palaces of the gods of the east, thinking of long ago days, remembering Eos's wish for his immortality and ashamed of his desire for it. How arrogant he had been. He hadn't thought of the future. In his youth, he had never even managed waste. And now here he was, wasting away. Even love and beauty and power could not save him. Soon he wanted to be like other mortal men. He wished for the return of the natural order of life. Some morning, sorry about my dogs. Some mornings when a soft breeze parted the clouds, he looked down at the dark world where he had once lived. And again he looked at Eos, seeing her mysterious glimmering face and her exquisite light. He remembered the way she had once loved him. He watched with longing as the gloomy darkness below parted and the rosy light of his beloved Eos warmed the world. This made him still sadder, for her warmth and glow were now lost to him, and began to sing, "Give me back my mortality." But even the gods could not grant his request. And now the rosy shadows of Eos bathed him in coldness as he looked down at his wrinkled feet and cried out to Eos, "Every morning you renew your beauty, but I am a fool who desired to be different from his fellow men. And now I cry to you forever. I will never stop singing this song. I sit here remembering what I cannot be." Eos could bear this no longer, and so she used her powers to transform the shell of a man into a cicada. She watched as he emerged from the ground, his body pale but fresh, as he shed his old skin, wings spreading where once were arms, and that voice singing on and on and on. So, you guys hadn't heard that story before? No?
I have not.
I think I heard a bit of it. I do enjoy Greek mythology.
Yeah. So anyway, that's it. A couple of stories. You can read them over yourself if you want about living forever. But all of these redound to this issue of time. And I'm pretty open to you guys, thinking about time, maybe watching some time travel movies over the weekend, maybe checking out Slaughterhouse 5. It's I think streaming. Is it on Amazon? Is that where it was, Kyla? Yeah. But it's also I think on YouTube. You have to pay for it. But so yeah, maybe watch those movies. Looper is a pretty fun movie. Bruce Willis and I can't remember the other guy. Where this younger version. Yeah, well, it's a long story. It's about this guy who goes back in time to kill younger versions of his former self. What's the movie about? Somebody trying to go back and kill a younger. I can't think of it. Anyway, so just spend the weekend having fun, but on your solitary walks or bike rides or whatnot, think about time. Think about what you want to say about time. I will next Tuesday. No, we won't meet until Wednesday because Tuesday is a Tuesday schedule. Monday's off, so we'll meet Wednesday. On Wednesday, we'll regroup. I will have a description of the writing assignment with at least four different prompts you can choose from. But I'm open. If Hayden wants to do something different, or if Jake decides he wants to approach this assignment differently, that's okay. There will probably be a draft due. We'll probably do a discussion blog with kind of a prospectus, where you give a paragraph where Lucius or Mariam says, this is what I want to write about, and we'll respond to each other's a discussion blog. And we'll probably have a first draft due sometime the following week. So we got some time to work on this. And that's about it. That's all I have for today. That's a good half hour. Any thoughts, any questions, any concerns? Any thoughts of these stories? Kendall, no?
I got nothing.
Got nothing. I know. It's just sad that I only get to look at Kyla and Aiden. All the rest of you guys just whatever. Yes, Kyla, what?
I kind of have a question. Like, in the book, after the bombing, I still don't get how like they made them dig after, like.
What they were doing was because they're in Slaughterhouse 5, and because they were in a subterranean chamber, even deeper than most of the bomb shelters. They survived. But what happened, and this historically, actually, remember at one point there's a Maori guy climbs down and he climbs into one of the bomb shelters, and he finds all these people unmarked, looking just like we look. They're sitting on benches and they're all dead. And what happened was, and this happened in Tokyo as well, these fire bombings were so intense and the fire burned so hot that it literally sucked the oxygen out of the bomb shelters. And so these people suffocated, just sitting there on the bench. They could no longer breathe. There's no oxygen left. And so apparently, I don't know how you die from throwing up, but what's that line where it says he says, the Maori ability to work with died of dry heaves after being ordered to go down to the stink and work. He's pulling up all the bodies. He tore himself to pieces, throwing up and throwing up. And I guess that's just Vonnegut's way of trying to express how tragic this was and how awful it was. All these corpses. The claim is, some historians claim it was 25, 30,000 people. Vonnegut goes with 135,000. And remember, those are mostly civilians. Those are mostly, women and children. And so it's really sad, really tragic. And that's, again, how so it goes. I don't know. I don't know if I feel, after reading this book, I don't know if I feel more moved by the tragedy of Dresden or less. I just, I don't know. But again, I'm mostly interested in this, in this idea that of the Tralfamadorian version of time. Because there are many physicists. Carlos Rovelli, I think, is the one. He's one of the top physicists right now. A lot of contemporary physicists argue that time is just an illusion, and the universe actually is in a static state, which to me makes no sense. And these arguments started being developed back in the 60s, about the time that Vonnegut was writing this novel. And again, if you want to do something, if you're bored and looking for something to read, in addition to the nows and laters and the myth of Tithonus, there's this incredible truth about time, which is a little longer scientific article that I thought you guys might enjoy. But anyway, so yeah, I know that doesn't answer your question, but I guess that's why he threw up, because he's going down there and finding all these bodies that smell like a mixture of roses and mustard gas, which is kind of weird. So, any other questions, Gemma? No, Mariam, Luke?
Nope.
Okay. Well, look, you've got another half an hour of fifth period left. So if you guys want to just go ahead and jump on those, let's go back to it. Jump on those. Hang on here. Oops. 2. This discussion blogs. Give me some thoughts on the novel. Try and give me a beefy paragraph. So far, I've been giving everybody who posts full credit. Give me a 9.5 out of 10. Give me an A. On this one, I'm going to be a little harsher. So I will still want to give you most A's. But if I only get one sentence, it might not be enough. Okay. So try and write something substantial, something thoughtful. You're not required to comment on each other's posts, but you might. I always think it's fun to start a conversation outside of the class. And this is a way to do that. So any more thoughts? I won't see you guys for a week. It's kind of a bummer, but it'll be great for you. And go out there, rent some movies if you want. I'll post, look at Schoology later today or tomorrow, and I'll post some thoughts on really good time travel movies. Yeah, I mean, Donnie Darko. Donnie Darko is such a strange movie. Have any of you watched Donnie Darko? Jake, you're a film buff. You haven't seen Donnie Darko? No?
Is that the one with Jake Gyllenhaal?
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but like, I just knew that.
Yeah, I know your sister probably. Yeah, it's the 6-foot rabbit. It's very strange, but it's an interesting take on time, on the nature of time. It's not really a horror film. I forgot what's that song at the end, Kendall? I forgot what it is. It's a good song at the end of the movie. Anyway, Mad World. It's Mad World. You know that song? Mad World.
Yeah.
Yeah, Claire, right. The only dreams I like are when I'm dying or something. I don't know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal is he's your age. He's young and he's really good. Anyway, I think his sister's in it too. I'm not sure. So that's about it. I'll let you guys go unless you've got anything else to add. I hate staring at your names. Hayden and Kyla, thanks so much. Mario, I can see Pap. And Gemma, you look so good, but you look the same always. There's Jake. There's Claire. So you guys hang out. I'm going to stop recording because we're just chatting now. What is behind you, Luke? That's